the inevitable truth is that your life won't last forever. You think about the people you love deeply, and thinking about it might actually hurt. Have you ever wondered if you missed opportunities to show more love, give more love, or demonstrate more love? There are times in our life when we are reminded that there is nothing more important than love. Because the greatest single need and desire of humanity is love. To love is the greatest power, privilege, and freedom we possess. And every thought, word, and action motivated by love matters. Love is the highest expression of what it means to be human. What I'd like to offer you is the idea to not leave love left undone. There may be things you don't accomplish, attain, or achieve in this world, but don't let shrinking back from love be one of them. If you're fortunate, you discover that love is the only thing that really matters. Love heals everything, and love is all there is. That's why I've started a love wave, an intention to demonstrate the undeniable possibilities when we look at life through the lens of love. After all, as you look back at your life, I'm sure you'll agree that life was always about that. It was all about love. This show is intended to highlight those that are committed, like I am, to bring their experiences, insights, and wisdom to advance what we believe to be true. That love is still the answer. Welcome to Love Wave Live. And we are live. Welcome everyone to the virtual stage today. I'm Joe Talig, your host. And I know I say this every week, but I'm just giddy right now because of the guest that is going to grace our stage today. But before we get started, I wanted to share a little bit about my journey. I've always known and have this idea of connectedness. So when life brings any type of circumstances or brings a whim of change, I'm not really moved by it. I just know it's all connected, and there's no mistake. There's an orchestration behind it. So though in my humanity I react, it doesn't take me long to realize that this is meant for me. And that happens to be the case of how I met our guest today. And her name is Lisa McCradle. I was invited into a community of like-minded and like-hearted individuals, and it was pretty quick that I got to see why she had the reputation that she did. And my experience of her has been one of almost instantaneous trust. But I'm also very cautious of that as well, because I could be drawn in pretty quickly. But in my interactions with her and just gleaning and learning from her, I knew that trust for me had like four components. And they were credibility, reliability, intimacy. So into me, you see, and into you, I see, and motive. And when those three or four things are solidified in my heart and in my spirit, I know I can trust. And I can say I trust our guest today. In a very short period of time, she has been able to impart wisdom and insights, things that I did not see and I couldn't see. And though I have folks in my life who have been that for me, I'm just super grateful during this season that God has brought this soul across my path. So it was pretty easy and I knew she'd be on the show. And, I don't want to skip any time. I want to formally introduce her. So she is the creator of Inner Wisdom Awakening, and she is an award-winning speaker. She's a transformational life coach, a soul alchemist, and a spirit channel. So for more than 25 years, Lisa has guided high-powered executives, celebrities, and everyday people through the process of clearing for expansion, finding purpose, and reclaiming their true personal power. Now she lives as a creatrix. I'm going to ask her about that. A magic maker and a sacred rebel. And the great thing is, she inspires you to do the same. So help me in welcoming our guest today, Lisa McCardle.
Hi,
Lisa,
hi. Thank you for that great intro.
oh,
So
absolutely.
exciting.
I'm so thrilled to have you
I'm so
in
glad
your
to be here. Thank you.
beautiful home in Carmel Valley, California. I'm
Yeah,
kind of jelly, but
you can come visit anytime you want.
oh my goodness. All right. I love that invitation and I accept it. So I want to start there actually.
Yeah.
I know that I've heard you talk about, in terms of the introduction, a creatrix. So share with everyone the meaning and bring that to life for us.
Yeah, what a great space to start in. So, I believe we're all the creators of our reality, and I, as a creatrix, and really claiming that it
Mhm.
was part of my own awakening, and I really inspire all of us to wake up to being the creatrix that we are. And where that stems from really is that I truly believe that nothing's ever happening to us but through us. So if we really claim the creatrix that is us, that is we, that is I, that is you, then it puts us in the driver's seat, right? Of being this magic maker and creating our life intentionally, not waiting for what's happening to you, but what's happening through you and what do you actually want to create? Because the sooner we align to that, the more fun living becomes, right? So we're in the creatrix of this matrix and we better start creating it the way we want it.
Yeah, I love that. There's a subtle difference. We've heard the adage, right? That life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. But I do love this little, slight distinction from that. It happens through you.
Yeah.
So is there a distinction between the two, for you and through you in your mind?
Yeah, actually it's a really great question. And I think it really brings us to a little bit of, what we're going to talk about today, which is really what's happening here, big picture in humanity. And part of what I believe is that we're in a dimensional shift. We're shifting ways of being, and we're shifting out of this idea that we're separate from everything, right? Which is this, and rather in a higher dimensionality, we're unified with everything. So the sooner we stop thinking that everything is an extension outside of us, that we have no, um, I'm going to use the word control, although I use that very loosely because I don't believe we actually have any control. But I believe that we have resonance for creation. So if we stopped thinking that everything is separate from us and we see it as an extension of us, then, and it moves into its basic law of attraction, right? It's like it's vibration. If you're vibrating with it, you'll experience it. So if we look at it that it's coming through us, then that puts us back in the driver's seat of whatever whatever you're intending, whatever you're feeling, whatever you're being is what you're experiencing, right? There's no separation. So if we put it through us, then we have ownership,
Mm,
then we have power, and then we
yes,
can transform. So that's where I'm at.
that's beautiful. And just that slight distinction, for you versus through you. The for you part seems like it's here outside of you. I mean, and you get like, okay, it's for me. What do I do with it? Through you is, I mean, there's this, for me, it feels like this is for me to create. So that the idea of a creatrix, I get it.
There's
Okay.
a little responsibility in that too. Like, you can, if it's for me, then it can be outside of you. And so you can still kind of be in that well of, things just aren't working out, or there's a responsibility in it moving through you. And
Absolutely.
then if we look at responsibility, it's really just your ability to respond in any given moment. So put you back in the driver's seat. And isn't that what we want?
Absolutely. Okay. Well, this is
Oh, it's
awesome.
so fun. I know. I'm so happy to be here. I'm super excited. Thank you.
I visited your website, and I have several times, and your the descriptions of what you do. And in fact, I wanted to. There was something on here that was really intrigued me. You say, "Allow me to show you what you can fully see, that what you cannot fully see, that you can." Okay, let me
Do you
start
want me
again.
to?
Allow me to show you what you cannot fully see, so that you can see clearly for yourself. so that you can remember what it is that you have forgotten.
Mhm.
That's just amazing. And so, what is it that blinds people that they forget to, that idea of what they have forgotten?
Yeah, it's such a good question, and the intentionality behind that came to me in my kitchen one night. I was like, "What do I do?" 25 years of like, "How do you serve the world?" It's like, what I do is I show you what you can't see in a way that you can see it clearly for yourself, to remember what it is that you have forgotten. Because I fully believe that we are the conduit of our greatest knowledge, and so, r a lot of my focus and my work and my offering into the world right now is a remembrance. And
Mm,
it's connecting, it's remembering back to ourself, back to our divinity. It's the way of the guru is done. The guru is you. You
mm,
are the greatest activation. You are the way shower. You are the light. And we, as support mechanisms, are to bring you back to you, to remember you. So, what that feels like is coming back into your greatest wisdom, coming back into your greatest potential, coming back to it, to you, to your greatest truth.
yes.
And I believe that's part of our service in the world, and really coming back to you as the vessel of love, right? You to you as love, because you are not going to find it outside. You're going to find it inside, and it's going to be created through you.
Mm.
So it's the remembrance. We've been dismembered for too long to our power and to our truth. And we're in the remembrance, remembering back to ourself, back to source, back to spirit, back to the truth, so we can wake this world up.
Oh, okay. You just
Amen.
started. Okay, we're about to get turned up, everybody. So,
We got a lot.
sorry right now. So, without further ado, the title of your talk today is "Your Greatest Expression of Love is Your Greatest Gift." I just can't wait. So, everyone here is Lisa McCardle.
Thank you so much. So, of course, as things would have it, I had a little diversion to what I thought I was going to talk about. And this diversion came from yesterday. Feeling really disoriented. There's a lot of energy. We're welcoming in this. Today is Halloween. The veils are thin between the worlds. We have capacity for massive transformation right now. And it's been a bit uncomfortable. Let's get real. This journey, I like to call it, of becoming new humans, hasn't always been the most comfortable, especially over the last 6 or 8 months. So, what do you do when you're uncomfortable? You clean out the garage, right? So, I was trying to create and writing and doing, and nothing was working, and I was like, I'm just going to go purge. So I went and I started cleaning out the garage, and there were boxes in there that had been moving from house to house for 10 years. And out of one of them falls this shell. Just a really beautiful shell. I'm sure I gathered it somewhere in the world in my travels. And so, of course, with all sacred objects, you put it in your bra to carry it. And of course, what that does is it infuses anything close to your heart. So, for many hours, this lived close to my heart. I went to bed last night and it infused into my dream time. And it really was such a loud message that I had to bring it here today. So, the shell, I kept hearing in my dream time, are you being the shell of yourself? Are you living in the fullness? That we are here to live in the fullness, not live as the shell. And the interesting thing about this shell and shells in general is that this is the basic symmetry of sacred geometry, that all life is created through the spiral, if you look at sacred geometry. So metaphors are not lost on me, and symbolism is how I live my life. So I wanted to bring this to the table today and really talk about, are you living as the shell of yourself? And the thing that's interesting is this shell, as it is, it gets tossed about in the ocean, it gets tossed about, it gets deep in the sea, it lands on the shore, it sits in the sun, it's beautiful as it is. It's a gorgeous expression, it has, pretty solid life, but it doesn't come to life until life moves into it. And so this brings me to this question, like the shell isn't fully living until it's embodied. And so, as I begin to express some stories and just some ideas, I'm really going to ask you to put yourself in this and ask yourself, Is there anything about me that I've put away? That am I living in a shell of myself? Is there anything that I could activate or move into my greater living, into my greater expression? Are you living as the shell? Are you living as the embodied shell that has life, that creates, that's a creatrix, right? That makes choices, that moves. How are you living? And I'm also going to invite you as I begin to share my own story. Are there any pieces or parts of yourself that you have put away because it was either deemed as too much or too little or too out there? Or who do you think you are? You know, those programs and those imprints that often come from people that we love, and it is no fault of their own, or from society, or from our own inner critic that has perhaps squelched the living that is you and created an expression of a beautiful shell. So the story that I wanted to share with you to start all of this was a story of a young girl living in the rural parts of Pennsylvania in a very old home that was built in the late 1870s. And this little girl was terrified most of the time in this home. It would be hot, so hot, so, so, so hot. If you know the East Coast heat, 90 degrees, 90% humidity, an old home, no air conditioning. She would sleep every night with the blankets curled over her head with barely a little air, a little hole for air to come. And part of the reason that this little girl did this, lived like this, was because what was outside of the air hole was often terrifying. So I'm going to tell you about one night, one summer night. And just like many, when I was sleeping under the covers, I felt like if I couldn't see the outside world, then the outside world couldn't see me. And one of the nights, it was just too damn hot. And I pulled the covers back like I would many times. And there she was, the woman in red, sitting on top of my dresser, just as she always had been. And every time I'd peel the sheets back, she would laugh. She was young and beautiful. She wore a red hat. She was a saloon girl. And she would laugh, and I always thought she was laughing at me, and of course, I was terrified every single time. And I would scream, and my mom would come. And it was in those moments, time after time that it happened, that I began to understand that whatever this alternative reality that was being experienced through me was not okay. My mom would come in and she would tell me time and time again, there's nothing there, sweetheart. There's nothing. You're not seeing anything. You're not hearing. It's the light. There must be a passing car. There was all the stories of what it must be, because it couldn't be the thing that I was seeing or the things that I would move through the days seeing and hearing. It could not be that. And it could not be that because I was raised in a very religious home. A lot of what I was experiencing was not considered to be okay. It made those around me uncomfortable because they had put their gifts away a long time before that. So I learned that this expression, this thing that was happening, had to go away. And so this was around the age of 4 or 5. I started tucking it away. I started burying it. And I was about the age where I was starting to outgrow it, where I really do believe that we make a choice based on our surroundings. If our senses, right, our sentient being, our connection with the spirit world, our seeing, of the fairies, the earth realms, the spirits, we become very awakened, and then we start to put it away based on what our experience is of those around us and the comfort level that they have with that which is coming through. So I buried it, and I buried it deep because I believed that I wasn't capable of being safe, being loved, being understood, or being accepted with this weird thing happening around me. So I denied it. I invite you to think about where you have buried a part of yourself. put something away. Fast forward 25 years, 20 years. I became a massage therapist. I'm doing massage at a very high-end resort here in California. 26 years old. I am massaging a gentleman, and every time I touch my hands down this man's back, I see pictures of him in the world being very, very disruptive, abusing power, especially dominantly over women for power. It was like watching a movie, and I was so uncomfortable, and I did not know what to do. I was terrified again. And I made it through, and I remember getting outside, and I remember just bursting into tears because I didn't understand what was happening. And I went about the business of getting some help, whoa, something's happening here. I'm seeing things, I'm hearing things. I cannot deny this anymore. And my expression might be different than yours. I do believe we all have the capacity to see, hear, know, feel, intuit. We're all connected in that way. But where was your shut off valve? And does it haunt you? Does it ticket you? Does it want to knock at your door? Does it want to express? What is it for you? It's going to be different for you. So I could not deny that there was this thing that was alive inside of me that needed to come through, that needed to be expressed. And here I am 25 years later. This is how I serve in the world, is by allowing the messages, allowing the sight, allowing the sensations, allowing the knowledge, allowing a connectivity through the thin veils. And today the veils are thinner than any other day of the year. Today is this initiation of the thinning of the veils this day. I had to rekindle what turned out to be my greatest gifts. And I had to break down the illusions of fear that if I expressed myself the way I was called to express myself, would I be safe? Would I be loved? Would I be cut off from the people that I love? Right? There's so much opportunity to break through illusions, through pain, through scarcity. Because those things that are your greatest gifts, they don't go away. You can bury them as deeply as you want, but they don't go away. They knock at the door, they haunt, begging to be expressed, begging to be honored, begging to be seen, to be acknowledged. Because if it's within you, it is of you, it is through you, and it is for you. And perhaps it's for your greatest service. So what would be possible if those things that are alive within you were given an opportunity to be explored first, maybe to be developed, maybe to be celebrated, maybe to be expanded upon, and then maybe to be brought to the world? I believe that the thing that's alive within you is your greatest gift. It's your greatest expression of love. And more and more and more, as we're in this awakening portal of consciousness here and now, we're in dimensional shifting. We're moving away from separation. We're moving into unification. And that begins first with self, right? It begins first with rekindling and reconnecting back to yourself. What is your greatest gift? What is alive inside of you, even if it doesn't make sense to you or to anyone else in the world, for that matter, that you've ever shared it with? Every time we take that risk, we take that leap, we take that opportunity to rekindle back to what is alive within us, what turns you on, what lights you up. If you never needed to make another dollar, what would you do? How would you spend your time? Where would you go? Who would you talk to? How would you express? What would you create? Because you're a creatrix. You are the creator of it all. So if you were given permission and you moved beyond the limitations and the restrictions that have been imposed upon you by other people's, often other people's fear, scarcity, or their own lack consciousness, what would you create? What is your greatest gift? We're here to see, to hear, to connect, and to serve. And we can only do that when we're connected into our greatest parts of ourselves. So we don't go outside to find the truth. We go inside. We go inside to find what that spark is, what that spark of recognition is. Really, this ties in and aligns us so much with our purpose. What is your purpose here on the planet? What is your purpose here? What are you here to do, to be, to express, to experience? And it isn't always the mechanism of the mind that takes us there. It's truly, truly that thing that sparks to life within you, that thing that calls through you. Your purpose is to connect to your unique gift. When you fall in love with these pieces and these parts of you, and you allow for them to be the predominant expression, the how comes through. Everybody's always like, well, how do I do that? And I always tell all of my clients that how is none of your business. Like, you set intention, you get in alignment, and most importantly, you get in the frequency of being it. Again, it all comes through you. It is from you. It is of you. So when you align into that, the how gets figured out by the universe, God, creator, universal intelligence, whatever it might be. How is never any of our business. But what it gets to be is a stepping stone. It gets to be a pathway. The very first thing to do is to connect back to self, back to that burning desire, back to that innate gift. And it's unique. And I hear so often too, like, well, everybody's doing this, or this isn't unique, or this isn't. I don't think there's ever been any unique thought ever created, but an expression and an extension, because the unique imprint is you. It's you who you are at soul level. It's you as a vibrational being. You can hear the same thing 100 times, and you'll hear it from the one person in the one moment at the one time that lands in your heart in the one way that actually activates it. So what allows for this greatest expression, and what's the very first thing we all get to do, is we get to go inside, we get to feel in, what is my greatest joy? What is my greatest passion? The second thing we get to do, and I think this is the single biggest thing that holds most of us back here in our human living, is the belief in our worth, is the belief that we have the right to. And I love what's happening here in this love wave. I love it. It's part of expansion. It's part of how we move into this new dimensionality. It's part of how we rekindle ourselves as humans on this planet. It's part of how we wake up. It's through the vibration of love. It vibrates at 500, 600. Fear, detachment, anger, shame, all lower vibrational frequencies, 20, 30, 40, 50. How high do you want to vibrate? And the way we get there is by falling in love with ourselves first. We must find that worth piece, that piece of worth that allows this greatest expression to have the stage, to have the platform, to have the space to be expressed first through us and then to be received through the world at large. So how do we get to that worth piece? How do we know that we are worthy? One of my favorite things that comes through is that you are worthy because you exist. There has never been a time like this on planet Earth. Every soul that is here is of a highly activated vibrational frequency. We're the talk of all the galaxies right now. You are here on planet Earth during the most extraordinary time that has ever existed. You are worthy, my friend, because you exist. And wherever you have gone about the business of needing to prove for it, right? And we usually need to prove for it because we shut down those aspects, those expressions of ourselves, usually at an early age, usually because we made somebody else uncomfortable, usually because they didn't understand it, or usually because they were programmed and imprisoned in their own lack, limitation, and denial of self-worth, right? We've handed this down generationally through our DNA, our ancestral DNA. It's gone on for too long and it needs to stop. You are worthy because you exist. Your first connection point is you to your higher self, you to source itself. so you can let these great gifts come through. It's not an outside game, it's a full blown inside game. And there's never been a greater time of which to connect to it. So, how is never any of your business? You allow for it to be. You wake up every morning and you say, I am worthy because I exist. And I have a unique, innate gift inside of me. And the time is now, right? The time is now. Those programs of fundamental lack, time, money, love, support, those are all the illusions of the third dimensionality that are collapsing around us right now. You are one with source. If you had everything, you had all the time, all the love, all the money, all the support, what would you choose? Choose that now. Choose that now and be your greatest gift, be your greatest expression. How do I heal this? How do I heal it? How? Here's some steps. Here's some tools. First, you must believe. You must believe that you were given these great gifts, these great desires for service, right? This is not service of self. This is service of the collective, right? I didn't see the woman sitting in the red on the thing so that I could, spend my days talking through the spirit world. I did it so I could be in service in this world at large. It came through me to serve you, to serve humanity, to know that there is space between that which we perceive and that which is available to us, right? And then we have to trust. We have to trust. We have to trust that we are worth it. We have to trust that we are safe. We have to trust that we would not be given a gift or a desire if it did not have purpose and service within it. Then we get to allow. We get to allow that which is meant to be to unfold within us and outside of us. We go in to move out. And then there is a commitment. You must commit. Your commitment so much to being in the truth of your greatest gift that nothing can get in the way. The commitment is to commit to what's possible, perhaps in an equal amount to how you've committed to what wasn't possible, right? We usually have a pretty strong conviction of what we can't do. Are you willing to have just strong of a conviction to what you can, who you are, what's possible? And then you explore, and then you become. That's it. You move through it. It's important now. It's alive within you. It would not be part of your expression if it was not for you. The time is now. You have permission. Fall in love first with you. Fall in love with your greatest gift and allow that greatest gift, the unique imprint that is you, to spill back to the world at large so you may be in your greatest expression. You are enough just as you are. You are not alone. And the time for you is now. It's now for all of us to be in our greatest expression. Our first key to being in our greatest purpose right here, right now. First key is the trust and the acknowledgement. The first thing, our greatest service, is what my guides want to say. They want you to know your greatest service is to be your greatest expression of love. It's to be your greatest expression of light. And then the next is how you express that light and love in the world in your unique fingerprint, in your unique expression, in your unique way. That was God, Goddess, Creator given through you to be here on planet Earth in this now time to serve as light, to serve as love. It is for you, it is through you, it is of you, and it is now. So breathe into all that. And allow this to be the movement forward. So really just coming in to remind you as that settles into your body. In so many ways, there's nothing for you to do. It's all about what you're willing to be, how you're willing to be it, and how it's summoning through you back to this world, back to this earth, back to this planet. You have a unique imprint. You have a great gift. It's alive within you. Are you willing for it to become alive outside of you, to be part of your service, to be part of your celebration, to be part of your light? Believe you are enough, and so it shall be. So make sure to play with that. Today is a really potent day. It's Halloween, the veils are really thin. The capacity for you to connect back to you, to connect to your ancestors, to connect to the places and spaces that perhaps you had kind of lost your connection. It's more available to you today, and even if you're watching this on a recording later, we've already passed through this portal of this day, this thinning of the veils, and, the remembering, right? We've been dismembered for so long, and you are remembering back to who you are at soul level, who you are in this world, and there's just never been a more ripe and ready time than right now. So, this is the time. This is the time. This is the time.
Oh, my goodness. Elisa, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ooh. I mean, like, I have two best. Wow. A lot to dig into. But before we get started, I wanted to bring up a comment really quickly. Eva says, so many people commit without knowing they do, like to a job that keeps them small. So that's why for me, the first thought about being committed was as if, to a mental institution equals taking my power away. I had to transcend the word commitment.
Hmm.
So, um, yeah, a lot. And there was a lot of comments when you said, I wrote it down and I wrote it in the chat, and so did others. You said, you are worthy because you exist. That really hit a chord with people. It was pretty amazing. Um, let's see.
I really believe that if we fundamentally attach to that as a reality, that has the capacity to, like, really activate the love wave through us and through the world. Like, we don't have to keep proving for it. It's not in our doing. It's never been in our doing. It's in our being. The doing becomes an expression of that being. Like, I would do what I do in the world if I never needed to make another dollar. Like, that's a fully expressed, like, being. Right? And it's here for all of us. You're worthy because you exist. If we can attach to that, we will change this world.
Oh my God, that's a T-shirt. Okay.
Maybe we should talk about collaboration through your clothing line, brother.
Oh my gosh, I love that. All right, there are a couple of things that just like I was mesmerized. I was just actually brought in. They were somewhat back to back, and you asked, "What part of you have you buried away?" And then, "Where was your shut-off valve?"
Mm.
Why is that an important place to revisit?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I'm n I think it's important to look in the rearview mirror only to gather information. Like, I'm not a huge, huge fan of going through the story of disintegration or dismemberment. Like, I'm not a huge fan of spending a lot of time in the story of what happened that disconnected us, because I believe that we can get really lost in that story. And I use this analogy, like, if you're driving the car and you're in the rearview mirror the whole time looking at what has happened, you're gonna crash.
Mm,
Right? So
yeah,
we look in the rearview mirror only to get some perspective of where we are. If you're trying to look 50 miles ahead on the road, you're not looking at the thing that's in the object that's right in front of you, right? When we're driving, we're 2 and 10, as I tell my son, and we are looking, like, right in that space where the light is shining right in front of our pathway. So where's the shutoff valve? We can look back to find where the shutoff valve is, in my opinion, only to acknowledge that it happened, come back to saying, "Okay, that was the shutoff valve, let me turn the valve back on, get my eyes back in front, and get moving ahead."
absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate that because there's many times we can get really like stuck in the story of it, and
Really stuck.
it at times can become actually a shield and hiding out behind it, you know. And I recently discovered that myself in terms of, and it comes up sometimes where I used to tell this long story about all the tragedies I've happened, you know, down to the detail, and I just realized I'm so tired of the story. I can capsulize it in like 30 seconds, and you know, when it's necessary to provide context. But like I have practiced, just the idea of observing it all and discovering for myself is like, oh, that was a way to get love.
Yes.
A little, I'm not ashamed to say it, but it's like I'm
Yeah.
being real about this. It's like my subconscious replaced something with a story because
Yeah.
I knew people cared. So, you know, wanting to recapture that, you know, the mind was just tell that story again, right?
Oh my gosh, that's such a brilliant thing that you just brought up, and, the thing of it is that in the old density, we really attach to the pain body for expression, and in the new dimensionality we're moving to, we attach to the soul body for expression. So, if someone's attached to the story, I always ask them, I'm like, "Do you feel good when you're telling the story?" Like,
Mhm.
if we're programmed to be in that pain because it's the only way we can be supported and recognized,
Mm.
look how much we're cutting off. What would it be like if in our full expression of our feeling good, like, we can tell the story, but not to the point where we collapse vibrationally, right? If we're gonna stay in love, love vibrates at 560, 600. We gotta stay in that vibration so we can tell the story, but
Mm.
not where it collapses our vibration into the pain. We don't get love from lack anymore. We get love from fullness.
Yes.
So there's the transformation. So that's dimensionality hopping. Third density, we're in the pain body, we're in the fear, we're in the pain, we're in the disempowered in order to be loved. And in the next where we're going, where what's happening now, we move into I'm fully expressed because that is where love is for me. Because now I feel love. Right.
Okay.
It's so brilliant. We're changing so much. It's hard to keep up with, but
Yeah.
I love witnessing you too.
All right. You talked about expression, right? And and there was a question, what allows your greatest expression? You know, I know for many that I've worked with and also experienced there, and for myself, there's the measuring stick that comes out, right? My expression and as amazing as Lisa's, or oh my gosh, I wish I had this, you know, insight that she had, etc. You know, and I think that cripples many people and is somewhat of a, you know, chain of allowing that expression to come out authentically, right? What would you say to those that want to express but have this trepidation of fully expressing?
Such a great question. Well, the first thing that's coming to heart is that if you're ever comparing yourself to another's expression, then you're actually not in the innate truth of you as you express. So I think the first thing to do is if you're looking at how someone else is doing something, maybe look at it as inspiration. Right? We can look at it as a contraction, like, "Oh, I wanna be her or him in the world, and look, they're doing it, and they're doing it, and I'm not I can't it's not why is it not working for me?" So if we're looking at what someone else is doing, look at it only for inspiration. But the second, again, your vibration starts to jump down to, "Well, that's for them and not for me," then you gotta take a step back. So how to express what's coming through is, um, give yourself permission and know that it's unique. How you express is not how I express. How I express right now is not how I expressed even a year ago. How I express right now is not how I'm gonna express probably tomorrow. Like, if we're not attached to anything other than, "I have the right to my expression, it's unique, and it's profound," and we played in that realm, then maybe we would just allow it to evolve, and it will show us it being like, your expression will show you how to express. And again, it's here's my other favorite tagline right now, like, I am living this message. This needs to be on a T-shirt too. "Attached to nothing, allow for everything. Like, it
Mhm.
is my metaphor for living right now, it gets me through my days. So, if we're
Right.
attached to nothing, then we're not attached to how am I expressing or how is it gonna be received or how is it gonna be like, if we're not attached to it, then we're just allowing for it,
Yeah.
right? And they'll show us.
Yeah.
Really, seriously, because our worth is not dependent on it. It doesn't mean that we're gonna be more loved if it's received one way or less loved if it's received another,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
hello. Right. That's
Like, we're that powerful. It's time to stop playing small, and it's
mm,
time to stop believing that anything outside of us has dominance over us. We're that powerful. Your expression is perfect, and those
absolutely.
who need to receive it are gonna be there to receive it just as it is.
Absolutely. Oh, okay. Awesome. Thank you. Um, you also spoke about what holds us back, and you tied it to worthiness.
Mhm.
And then you began to get a little antidote, right, in terms of believing, trusting, and committing. And finding the heart and essence of who we are through expression, right? What words would you have for those who have these scars, wounds, broken records, etc.? I mean, you alluded to it a little bit earlier, but about around worthiness, because that's something specific that you keyed in on. What would you share with them?
I've been supporting people for 25, 6 years of my life, and I will say that fundamentally, I think the thing that holds us back the most is a belief in our worth, and it literally hurts my heart to say that. And it's a journey I mean, we've all gone through it. I still get to make decisions every day. Am I gonna see myself as worthy, as valuable? Am I connecting to my love? There's not a human that walks on this planet that doesn't have a scar or 2 or 10 or 1,000. What I'm really moving into the belief system of, and I would encourage those with and in and around us who are receiving this, is that in so many ways, those scars can become your greatest service if allowed.
Mm,
Right? They become the greatest service. It's your PhD program. Like, I don't care how much you've studied, I don't care how many degrees you have behind your name. I mean, I have 1,000 freaking certificates. It doesn't mean anything compared to what I've lived and what I've allowed the living to integrate into my body so I can be in greater service. So it's just like we said, if you're attached to those wounds of being like it's how we started, right? Like, is it happening to you, through you, or for you? What
mhm.
if it's all of it? But what are you attached to it being the definition of who you are, the limitation? Are you gonna let it be the source of inspiration, infusion, and service?
Yes.
So take the same scar, take the same wound, and stand on it differently. And what does it create? Flip it upside down. It creates an opportunity.
Yes.
So it's all about the perspective of what you're willing to hold it as. It could be the wound that limits you, or it could be the fuel that fires you into service. It's your choice,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
We get to choose. And this is what I'll show you what you can't see so you can see it clearly for yourself so you can remember what it is that you have forgotten comes back. That you're
Mm,
powerful and you're whole, and everything you've experienced is for your service. You've been the creator of it, and I know it's really hard when some of this shit is really hard,
yes.
like, really dark. People have lived dark things, I do not deny that, but how can you turn it into your greatest light, and how can you allow it to be your greatest service? That's the embodiment, that's the love, that there is nothing ever wrong until it can be made right.
Yeah.
I don't
Nothing.
know if that answers the question, but that's what's coming through.
Oh, it's. Oh, I mean, it brings so much like finite clarity. Really, really does. That the scar is beautiful.
Yeah,
It is example of what's possible, right? It is this. It doesn't. It can constrain you or propel you, and
exactly.
get to choose.
But even that image of, like, of the slingshot, right? It always pulls back, and that's hard, and that can be intense, but it pulls back to get the momentum for the thrust forward.
Yeah,
So you could also think of it as that.
absolutely. That's awesome. I want to. I'm looking at our time together.
Yeah.
Um, I want you. Would you share with everyone the type of work that you do and anything that you have coming up that you can share where people can connect with you, learn from you, or hopefully work with you? What do
Yeah,
you have
thank
here
you.
before the end of the year?
Thanks for the invitation. Yeah, my work goes into well, I don't first of all, I don't call it work. I think work is a four-letter word. And like, we've worked on enough stuff, right? We're done working on stuff. We're in allowance. So part of my service is to really, like I said, help people to remember who they are, to move through this ascension process of awakening. I consider that to be really about moving back into your greatest expression, into your greatest service, and into your greatest light frequency. And that can get a little new agey, but I think part of the gift of what I do is I take the like quantum macro and I bring it to the cement. Like, my life looks super normal. I live an extraordinary superhuman life, but my life looks really normal. Like these new age concepts, we can digest them and bring them to the cement, like living here. So I have a super fun Facebook group that I would love to invite people to. It's called the Conscious Creator Community. There's lots of inspiration, lots of wisdom. I do live channeling in there, and go live often with just pieces and parts of how to become a new human as we awaken. And then I do have an offer coming up on the 11/11. 11/11, I'm a numerologist as well, so numbers are really potent. 11 is the number of mastery. We're going through a huge ignition portal that will carry us through the end of this year, which is going to be extremely ripe. You think 2020 has been wild? Here we go. So the 11/11 is an ascension portal. It's a live channeled activation. It's just $11. And we meet at 11:11 a.m. on Pacific time, and it is recorded. And I would love to have you come hear from the Light Council and really receive the infusion. It's a cellular infusion to carry you through to the next level. So,
Ah,
yeah.
that is amazing. And they can find that at your website. Is that
You can
correct?
find it at my website. Yeah, it's lisamccardle.com/11-11.
Okay. And then
Mhm.
also repeat your Facebook community name again.
It's called the Conscious Creators Community. And yeah, you can even just Facebook me and I'll put you in the community. But yeah, go over there, head over there. And how to get into the 11/11 portal is in the community as well. It's probably easier access in there.
That's what I thought. Wonderful. So there's a couple questions that I ask all the guests that come on. So
Sure.
wrap things out really fun. The first one is imagining if you were provided an opportunity for a complimentary billboard in major metropolitan areas throughout the country, and you had an opportunity to place a message on this billboard. It would be seen by thousands every single day. What would that message be on this billboard?
You are here for purpose. You are enough, and your time is now.
Mm,
Mhm.
here for a purpose. Your time is now. And what was the third one?
You are enough. You are
Why not?
worthy. You are enough, and your time is now. Like, just go do the thing. Go be the thing.
Hey.
Do it.
Don't do
Stop
the thing.
messing around. It's now. Get out of your way. Go. I guess that'd be a really long billboard, but I would just basically say, "I love you. You are enough. Go do the thing."
Okay, awesome. Well, the second question is very similar, and you can give this some thought as well. But if you, Lisa McCardle, could only be remembered by your words only, what would those words be?
If I was to be remembered by my words only, it would be that I see you, I believe in you, and I love you. That's how I wanna be remembered.
Mm.
Yeah,
and I
it's
know that about you.
my
So,
job.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for gracing our stage and for partnering with Lovewave and being just a beautiful ripple of love that I can see, well, that creates the tsunami.
Hmm.
Uh, what I love about what's happening is, you've heard me talk about this idea of unification, right? Unity, in the different beautiful facets of who we are. So that diverse way that we express. And that scarlet thread that runs through us is that deepest form of love that transcends understanding. It's just beautiful, and you just embody that so much. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Well, Joe, Papa Joe, they don't know I call you Papa Joe, but now they do. I wanna just offer my gratitude back to you for it's not just a ripple. I love the idea of the tsunami, but I honor you as you are standing in your truth. You're doing everything I talked about today, right? You're taking the vulnerable steps, you're putting your voice out into the world, you're not attached to the outcome, you're here to serve, and you know that love is your mission. And I am honored, not just to be on your stage, but I am honored to know you as a human being. So I wanna thank you for who you are, for what you do, and for the impact that you are having, and I this ripple that you're throwing out, it's just gathering momentum, I'm feeling it, but I honor you, and I wanna thank you for you on this planet.
Thank you so much. All right. Love waivers, those of you who have joined today, and those of you who are listening afterwards and watching, glean everything that you received today and take it out there. Lisa's title was Your Greatest Expression of Love is Your Greatest Gift. Take that gift and impart it and demonstrate it to those that are needing it. And, the love will accomplish what it sets out to do. Thank you all for coming. Have a beautiful weekend and much love to everybody. Thank you.
Love.